Hello, today I am joined by my guest SJ Taylor from Greenhouse OS. SJ, how you doing?
I'm good, David. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, really well.
Super.
I feel like I'm with a celebrity.
Oh, behave.
Oh, come on. Women in the state agency, again, a roaring success this year. Well
Yeah,
done.
thank you.
It's really, really nice to see.
A
But
proper team effort, though, to put events on like that. It's the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes. And I joined the board for this in June of last year,
yeah,
thinking I'd rock up, I'd say a couple of nice things, I'd maybe drop in, a question or two, which might be thought provoking, might be totally useless. And then Amy rang me. She's like, "You're helping me with conference," and I was like, "Oh,
oh dear.
okay." And then come like October, I was like, oh, I have two full-time jobs. I have my paid job at Greenhouse, and then I have my passion job at Women in a State Agency.
Well,
So
if so take this as a compliment. It shows. It shows because there's an awful lot of work that goes into it, and you can tell from the feedback and the effect that it has on people. I think
mm,
that as we're beginning to understand, conferences don't just happen by accident, and
yeah,
successful conferences, or not a conference, if you like, but events that have an impact and can sort of change people's attitudes, learning, and understanding of key things that sometimes we just tend to ignore.
yep.
Um, I'm gonna make a leap and a segue now. You're wondering
Oh,
how is he going to connect this to the topic we're going to touch on today?
I'm,
But
I'm going to hold my breath with excitement.
the reason why I'm super enthusiastic about talking to SJ today is in actual fact that I believe we've been long overdue a bit of a mindset reset, if you like, and a way of looking at the way that we charge fees very
Mm,
differently, both from a sort of a self-esteem point of view as an agent. I think that for the longest time, it's not done us any good to go into people's houses and to go, I am going to be wonderful for you. I'm going to work my little socks off, my money penny socks off for you.
yep,
Um, but you're not going to pay me a penny for that. And I might be successful. I might get paid. I might not be successful, somebody else might get paid, or you
yeah,
might just decide you've had enough and disinstruct me at some point. And psychologically, that what that does to your self-esteem is awful, really. So when it goes well, it goes particularly well. But
yep,
there were, as a result of that way of thinking, many more bad days than there were good days. And
yep,
and I feel like you guys at Greenhouse are really leading the fight, if you like, from the front to change that mindset, but also to educate people and
yep.
agents that there is a better way of doing this. So now that I've laid the ground, over to SJ.
Super. Well, I guess this all started from a point of it feels unfair. And not just for the agent, but for the customers that do actually sell successfully. So Chris Watkin gave me a great stat for this one, and 52% of all properties that are listed on Rightmove complete.
Yeah,
So that means 48% of them don't complete. They never go through. So essentially, every agent is only getting paid for 50% of the work that goes in because you have to do the same level of work for 100% of the instructions, but you're only getting paid for half of it. So as an agent, that feels incredibly unfair. But for all of those customers that do sell, essentially what they're doing is they're paying a premium for all of those carpet treader, tire kicker types that whack it on the market to see what's going to happen and then change their mind and take it off, or life gets in the way and they have to take it off, whatever it may be. But there are 50% of people that pay nothing for it. So why is if I'm a motivated seller that has to move or needs to move or is making a move of choice and I've made my mind up and I'm a true Yorkshire scorpion lass that is stubborn to the core, why should I be forced to have to pay more for the fact that there's all of those people that decide not to sell?
yeah,
And that's really the core of where flexible fees came from. There are lots of benefits. It improves cash flow, it increase profitability, you can earn more money doing no more instructions. But ultimately, it's about fair recompense for the agent and fair pricing for the customer. That's what it comes down to.
So imagining I'm one of those agents that doesn't get out much and I've not seen this and I've not spoken to
Yeah.
anybody, and we'll talk about feedback that I've got from people that I've actually spoken to. But
Mm.
what is the basic concept then of flexible fees? What is the proposition?
Ultimately, it's choice. That's what it boils down to. It's being able to go into the customer's home and remove this awful situation that we often find ourselves in, where the seller thinks that they're negotiating with you on the fee, and actually all you're doing is discounting. And actually, that process of discounting breaks trust. Because if I go in and I say, David, my fee is 1.5%, and you say, could you do it any cheaper? And I go, oh, because it's you, Mincy, and it's a Friday and I'm in a good mood. Go on, I'll do it for 1.2. Now, what that tells the customer subtly in the background is that I was trying to rip you off at 1.5.
Yeah,
Because if I'm prepared
yeah,
to do it for 1.2, why the hell did I ask for 1.5 in the first place?
yeah,
So that doesn't help engender trust with the customer for this massively important financial decision that they're making. You've got to be able to build trust in there. And so I spent some time a long time ago with a wonderful trainer who talked about the difference between discounting and trading. Now, when you discount, there's a win-lose situation. The customer wins because they get something for cheaper, and
yeah,
you lose as the agent because you provide the same service for less. But when you trade, you create a win-win scenario. So the customer gets something, but I, as the agent, get something in return. So I can do this for you, David. I can do the fee for you at 1.2%. But what I need in return is a shared risk, a partnership venture where you make a contribution to the marketing as well. And so ultimately, going back, so I feel like I'm going off on a politician's answer. So ultimately, coming back to the question, what is it? It's choice. It's about being able to go into the customer's home and saying, I can do it no sell, no fee. I can do it 1.5% or 1.8%, no sell, no fee, no problems whatsoever.
yeah,
Happy to work with you on that. But if you want to work with me and you want to make a contribution, you can pay me 395 or 495 up front, and I'll do it for 1.5% on completion.
yeah.
And if you want to get my best deal, then I'm sorry, but you're going to have to unzip those big long pockets of yours and you're going to contribute the whole amount for the marketing, but I'll do it at 1.2% for you instead. So
I'm
I can
so
offer you
glad you said
40% off.
pockets. Thank you.
Well,
Um,
I didn't want to talk about your short arms. So,
but that is that is something that you might. So if you're an agent that hasn't seen this in action yet and hasn't seen the effects that it can have on your business, or you're one of those it'll never work around here
mm-hmm,
um, type of things, it does take a mindset shift. It does take
100%.
some phenomenal training, which I'm very happy to say. The feedback on Ian Preston's training is just superb because it's not
Brilliant.
only the tech that goes with the system. So you have a very innovative, very clear to understand proposition. You have the slider which you can
Yep.
demonstrate on evaluation. Look, this is what you're going to be paying. These are the benefits of paying me up front. This is the benefits of doing the middle ground, and this is what you get if you don't pay me a thing. Yes, you've got the tech, but the tech on its own doesn't work
Doesn't do it. No,
without the training and the mindset shift. So
100%.
the training I've heard is excellent, really
Brilliant.
excellent. So
Brilliant. And it's, that's wonderful to hear because there's been a lot of thought, a lot of planning that's gone in to try and make that training as effective and as helpful as possible. But from our point of view, there are four key ingredients that go in to making the implementation of flexible fees successful. Bearing in mind now we've got 500 valuers up and down the country using flexible
yeah,
fees. So I'd just like to kick that argument of it won't work in my area, my customers are different. Like that stuff doesn't land, I'm afraid, because whether it's up in the depths of the northeast and into Newcastle and beyond, or across over into Liverpool, down into Wales, into Kent, into prime central London, we've got agents using this. It works in every scenario, and it's about the mindset shift. So the four key ingredients as far as I'm concerned. There's mindset, so that's the training and that's the attitude that you come into it as. And I've quoted this so many times, and I can't remember who said it first, but there are two types of people in the world: those who think they can, and those that think they can't, and they are both correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go out saying this will never work, I can guarantee you it will never work. But if you're prepared to open your mind and give it a chance, it will work. It does work,
Yeah.
and it makes a difference. The second one is the technique. So that's where the training really kicks in terms of, how can you present these fees? How can you overcome the objections? But actually, it starts way before that. And it's about how your team set you up for success, how you set yourself up for success before you even cross the threshold. And that how many times do negotiators in a business, for example, turn the valuer into a rock star before they even walk through the door?
Yeah.
How many of them are saying, SJ, I'd love to be able to get a valuation booked in for you tomorrow, but David Mintz, who is the expert for three-bed properties in your area, is fully booked. Now he has two slots left in his diary this week. He's got one at 3 o'clock on Friday. He's got one at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Which one of those slots would you like me to reserve? Because David's diary is hectic,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's those
I'm in
subtle.
demand, baby.
Yeah,
But
of course you are.
that is the psychological positioning of it as well.
Yep.
I'm really, really pleased to say that I have had the immense privilege of going around the country talking to, I mean, we spoke off camera about how we've basically been on every train line in the UK.
Yes.
We can give you recommendations, guys, our favorite stations coming next. But I've been up and down the country talking mostly to relocation agent network members.
Hmm.
And they're a smart, savvy bunch. These are agents that are well established in their marketplaces, top of their game. And you would think there's nothing that anyone can teach them. When I go around the room and ask people for the one thing that's shifting the dial the most in their businesses, on multiple occasions, flexible fee offerings from Greenhouse OS were the one thing that were mentioned, that it has changed the way that they operate around the most vital part of their business, which is the valuations.
Yeah.
It's transformed their cash flow because in some cases, and one agent in so if you just in case you think that there are people out there that won't pay fees up front, one agent, not going to name them, one agent took £18,000 plus VAT of fee up
Yeah.
front last
In
week.
his
Yeah,
and if it's the same agent that I think you're referencing, he did
yeah,
that in his first month of using flexible
yeah,
fees, having never asked for any upfront contribution before.
yeah.
And some of those fees that he secured were for valuations he'd done in the year prior, where he hadn't introduced the concept of flexible fees, and he went back and reintroduced it, and the
Repitched
customer
it. Yeah,
and the customers still agreed to it.
yeah,
We've got countless examples of this now. There's a business based a little further south in the Central Belt, a multiple branch business who are RAN members, and credible business. And one of their officers did £40,000 in upfront fees in a single month.
yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
It's crazy, and the reason why it shouldn't be crazy, guys, it should be something that we're all doing. We are worth that sort of money. We're worth upfront investment. We are going to provide a fantastic service, and
Mm,
people should be paying and should respect actually the skill and the hard work and the effort that goes into it. And I think that one of the reasons why it's so difficult, as you said at the beginning, to track ROI actually on marketing. So if you were to ask an average agent what it costs them to market a property, they won't have a clue
no.
because it's spread, isn't it, amongst the
Yep.
ones that sell and the ones that don't sell, and it becomes very
Yep.
difficult to work out exactly what it is per unit. But in this way, your upfront cash flow and the commitment that you feel from those clients. So as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, in those scenarios where a client has paid the fee up front, that's a
Yep.
2 year product effectively. So they can take a break, they can come on off the market, but it remains good for a finite period of time. And you've
Yep.
got their focus, you've got their commitment, they're unlikely to go anywhere else.
Yep.
And it makes a more effective partnership between agent and seller
Hmm.
because they've got skin in the game.
Yeah, yeah, so there are three levels to flexible fees. I'm conscious I've only given you two of the four ingredients as well that makes an implementation successful.
Okay,
So we'll come back to
we'll
that.
come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that afterwards. Are you okay for me to share a slide on
Yeah,
screen,
please do.
David?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, super. So I'm just going to share this slide here. So this slide hopefully really demonstrates quite well the difference between the three types of fees. So what you'll find with the slider is that no sell, no fee still exists. So one of the things that people often say to me is, but SJ, what if people can't afford to pay anything up front? No dramas, guys, because no sale, no fee still exists. But what's
Yeah.
really interesting is the intent and the outcomes for customers when you start looking at the three different fee types. So when it's no sale, no fee, the product that we're all used to selling at the moment, when you look at data, so this is instructions from 2024 and their outcome measured in May 2025. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've given enough time for sales to be agreed, completions to
It's
happen.
a good
Um,
period of time, isn't
it's
it?
a
Yeah.
good chunk of time. Yeah. So when we look at that data, if a customer picks no sale, no fee, 46% of those customers, so that's that green bar here, will go on to complete.
Yeah.
38% of them will withdraw. So you don't earn a bean, right? When you look at halfway house, so this is the middle option. This is where you say, you can pay 395, 295, whatever's right for your marketplace, and we'll work with you to be able to find that sweet spot for your market. 57% of those go on to complete. Your withdrawal rate now drops to 27%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of those withdrawn properties, all of them have made some form of contribution, which is at least the minimum and somewhere along the slider.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the average contribution now to marketing is somewhere in the region of 700 to £1,000 up and down the
Okay.
country. Yeah. So customers are prepared to do this. And then moving to, which is where your question came from. So 78% of customers that choose to pay all of their fee up front go on to complete, and only 8% of them withdraw, but all of those have paid their fee already.
Yeah.
Now, the reason it's called Moving To is when we started out on this journey, and I say we because all of the work that I did on this originally was done at Preston Baker. And for those of you that know me well, it runs straight through my core. I don't bleed blood anymore. I bleed Preston Baker. But when we started with this, we made all the mistakes at Preston Baker. And when we first introduced flexible fees, we had this myriad of options, 144 different combinations where you could switch marketing on and off,
Yeah.
in this true tradables fashion. Like, I can do it for less, but we turn this off and we turn that on. And we did all it did was make our marketing look atrocious because there was no consistency. So then we started saying, well, look, we can do your deal, but you're going to have to make a commitment. You're going to have to pay some money. And we capped it at a 30% contribution up front. And believe it or not, we had sellers and valuers coming back to us to say, if you're prepared to give that discount for 30%, what would you do if I paid it all? So the customers started asking for this, and the valuers, who hate change mostly, put their hands up and say, I need more change, please, SJ. And
Yeah.
that doesn't happen very often. And we were really nervous about taking everyone's money up front because you just don't know when things might go wrong. And having taken thousands of pounds off people, particularly folk from Yorkshire who are like Scots people deprived of their generosity, right? So when you take all that money from them, what's the consequence of doing that? And so we came up with this moral answer, we believe, to the question, which was, if something happens and you can't move, that contribution is valid for 2 years from the point you take your house off the market.
Yeah.
So if
Which
I
is a
if I
re
lose,
very, very reasonable period of time, isn't it?
yeah, because if you lose your job, you're taking taken ill, heaven forbid it, or something changes. There's a family scenario that's kicked off in the background. You just can't do it. Then 2 years gives you that window to be able to come back. And so whether it's halfway house, so some contribution, or moving to the full contribution, when a customer has made a contribution, if anything happens, they have to take the house off, they can come back to the market, and that contribution is still valid, and the agreement that they made at the time is still valid. And that's made a great difference. And I can tell you countless stories where we've seen the benefit of this. I was with a business in Hertfordshire last week, and they were telling me about a withdrawal where they paid £1,000 up front, and as part of the customer care call on the withdrawal, we do hope that you'll consider marketing with us again. Customer response: "Of course I will. You've got £1,000 of my money. I'll be back as soon as I'm ready." I get an example from Preston Baker. We marketed a house for a lady who unfortunately passed away very suddenly, very unexpected. The family got wind of the fact that this fee had been paid up front when merry hell broke loose. Everybody's getting quite frustrated and quite cross. It's an emotional time anyway. And we explained, we'd given all these options. She picked this option. She felt it was right. But when they were ready, when probate had been granted, we would market the home free of charge, no problems. We'd be there to support them. And they came back and we marketed the home, and it sold. So, there's lots that you can do there around that moral question. This is not about being a shyster and just taking people's money and running off into the distance.
Yeah.
And I and
Uh,
I can tell you, sorry.
no, 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 no. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, people have said to me, but what if I take the money and the house doesn't sell, and they get really cross, and they want their money back? Yeah, and that's a real concern. Yeah, but agents have this concern all the time, and the honest answer is, if you think a property is you're taking it on and you don't believe it's going to sell, you just take the full upfront option off the table. And you
Yeah.
say, I'd love to work with you, David, but with the marketing strategy that you want us to adopt around pricing, it's £100,000 more than I can see the evidence in the marketplace. I'm not comfortable taking all of your money at
Yeah.
that price point. So I'm going to take that off the table, and I'm going to offer you these two options instead.
And it's because we work in a system where it takes it can take time to get a
Yep.
result. It can take time for marketing to hit in. If it's a particularly difficult property for whatever reason, there are nuances to that marketing you need to try with different groups of people. How often for every property that we've taken on that sells within the first week, there's another 10 properties that we take on that sit there for a while till it gets traction. And it might not just be pricing, it just might be the house, it might be the market itself. But either way, selling a property is not instantaneous, and
No.
it takes time to bake that cake. And what
Yep.
and we feel uncomfortable because we feel that sometimes our public won't pay us up front for that, but we've conditioned them rather than the other way around. We've sort of over the years, the whole notion of no sale, no fee.
I,
Uh,
I, I'm going to challenge you on that,
oh,
if I may.
I love a
Yeah.
challenge. Go
Yeah.
on.
I don't think we've conditioned them. I think we've conditioned ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And I'll explain why I think that's the case. First and foremost, Purple Bricks did a wonderful job of telling everyone it's okay to pay an agent money up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole commisery campaign, all that's done
Yeah.
is change the mindset of the consumer, right? So
Right.
so there we go. I'm going to go on record saying that Purple Bricks
You
did
heard it here
that
first,
bit that
folks.
bit superbly well, right? The second thing is that think about your role as a consumer in general. If you're buying car insurance, you've got that little slider that says, I can change my excess limit, and it
Yes.
moves my policy
Yes.
price up and down.
Yeah.
I can book a room through booking.com or Premier
And you
Inn,
can pay up front. Yes, you're
and
right.
I get it cheaper, or I can go
Yeah.
for a super flex rate, which is more expensive, but that's because my plans are up in the air. So I'm prepared to accept that extra cost because I'm not quite committed to my plans. So, as consumers, we're already prepared to make these nuanced decisions around pricing because of everything else that we see in our lives. So,
Interesting.
we have conditioned ourselves to say customers will only work with an agent on no sell, no fee because we've given them no choice.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is when you give the customer choice. So, let me just jump back to a slide that I think will be helpful. And I told myself I wasn't going to do loads of slides, but I hope they're helpful.
We like a slide. Come on.
Cool. Okay, so when customers are given choice, this is the spread of what happens when they can pick their own fee. Now, there's a whole subtlety in terms of marketing and NLP and things when you get to give customers choice, and I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But for those agents that have been successfully using flexible fees now for 3, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, some of them, 20% of their marketplace will stick at no sell, no fee. So they'll continue to pay everything at the end. 60% of the sellers they interact with will pay at least their minimum fee or that rising contribution on the slider. And 20% of their customers will opt to pay everything up front. And I'm saying opt because remember, this is choice.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're putting it in front of the
That
customer
is
and
key,
letting them
isn't it?
choose. Yeah.
Psychologically, people love to be empowered to make a decision themselves.
100%. Yeah. And that's what I mean about this subtle shift in the living room. When you start presenting flexible fees, you move away from, I'm telling you my fee, David, this is what I want you to pay me, into, David, let me show you how we work with our customers to find a match that works best for them.
Yeah.
And let me show you these different options. And suddenly you're in control as the customer.
And it's worth reminding everybody that seeing those three options there, so you had the, no sale, no fee, the middle ground, and then you've got paying it all up front. But let's just take the middle ground and the paying it all up front off the table. When you present it amongst three options, your fee for no sale, no fee is higher than it would have been
Yes.
previously. When you walk into a living room and go, it's all 1%, but I might go for this, I might go for that. You start to sort of negotiate with yourself, or maybe start to negotiate with it. But in
Yeah.
this way, it's a clear value proposition. This is what I'll do. It has to be, if you want to stand a chance of selling the upfront or the middle ground, you have to have a weighted fee for the no investment upfront. And it's danger money in a way. It needs to sort of pay for you to
Yeah.
take the risk.
Exactly that, and that's what we're talking about when we get into the living room with the customers. It's about shared risk. It's about moving away from um, customer client relationship to a partnership. Now, we've both invested in the marketing of the property. We're
Yeah.
both committed to the outcome. And, some people have said to me, if the customer pays everything up front, what's the motivation for you to sell it? Because you're not going to get paid at the end. Well, I can tell you for sure, you only need to sit in the living room once and look that customer back in the whites of their eyes, having taken £5,000 off them and say, yeah, I haven't sold it. I mean, that is
You, you,
pressure in
you
itself.
know what? I think it is also a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you want an insight into sort of psychology of how estate agents work, we do our best work for the people that value us the most. And so, you've got, I always say there's three types of customer. There's one that really respects your opinion, your judgment on pricing. They know your skill and your craft and they're willing to invest in it and they're willing to pay you accordingly. They don't
Hmm.
want to even discount or anything like that. They
Yeah,
want SJ Taylor because they know that you're the best at doing what you do. And then there's that middle ground. There's people who are a bit undecided. You need to nurture them along. Then you've got the C listers, and you can decide what C stands for later on. But in that context, they are the people that are always right. They know what their friend achieved up the road. They want to negotiate with you. They're the people that call, and before they've even booked the appointment, go, just want to check what are your fees, and you have one of those conversations.
yeah,
But when you work for an A client, and I am more than willing to admit that over the course of a 30-year career of selling houses, maybe 10, 15% of my clients end up being A clients, and I've
Yep,
sold many more C houses than I have A houses. But when you
yep,
get a golden A house and you get somebody that really believes in you and feels invested in you, I tend to perform better for them because I know from the beginning that they appreciate me, and I
hmm
therefore want to make prove them right. And so actually I do my best work for those sort of customers. And I think that if
yeah,
if my customer walked in and went, David, here you go. That's your fee up front. Go ahead and sell the house. It's not that I would ever rest on my laurels. I'd actually work harder to fulfill
yep,
that belief that they've invested
yep.
in me. So I think that's really
You've
important.
taken their cash off them. That
Yeah.
accountability piece now skyrockets because there's a piece of psychology, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but the fear of loss is greater than the than the joy of winning. So there was a study done in and around smokers of all people,
Yeah.
and people they took two groups of people, and Group A were told if they stopped smoking within 6 months, they'd be paid £1,000 each for successfully quitting smoking. Group B were told that they had to pay a £250 deposit,
Yeah.
and if they stop smoking within 6 months, they get a £500 bonus. So they're in for they get their 250 back and they get the £500 bonus. So they're in for 750, right? And the group A are in for a grand. Which group do you think did better?
Well, I know the answer to, I know the
Yeah,
answer to this,
yeah.
but
So it's group B, right?
yeah.
Because the fear of losing that £250 that they'd invested in to stop smoking was greater than the joy of winning for those people that were going to get £1,000 once they'd quit smoking.
So it's called loss aversion, isn't it? So where
That's it.
loss
Yes.
feels stronger
Thank
than
you.
gain. So the
Yeah.
pain of losing £20,000 for argument's itself is felt roughly twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. And so
Yeah.
therefore price reduction feels like a defeat. So when you're arguing with a client on price very often and they're being difficult and you're wondering why they're being difficult, it's
Yeah.
that that's sat in the head, isn't it?
That's exactly it. Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me of the term.
No problem. So, what I do want to bring you back to, so I've
Yes.
seen it in the room, and I've
hmm
seen people using this in their businesses, and so I know that it's helping their cash flow. I know that it's helping the mindset of the business, and it's almost transformed the way that their valuers feel about themselves, about the job that they're doing. It's one thing believing that you're worth more, but there's another thing seeing your clients validate that. I honestly
hmm
believe that.
Yeah,
The
100%.
minute you ever take your first upfront fee will be one of the happiest days of your life because it will flick a little switch in your head that
hmm
will never go back the other way because you
Yeah.
now know that you can do it. You,
Yeah, and we see valuers now that have been doing this for, 12, 18 months. We get stories come back, or, I can draw upon my experience when I was at Preston Baker, where they come back and they go, I'm really sorry, guys, it's no sale, no fee.
yeah.
And they're genuine, they've won the instruction, but they're genuinely disappointed. And, there's this shift, as you say, there's this switch that clicks where you're like, I am worth not being left to hung out to dry for 9 months
Yeah.
before I get any remuneration on this. And once they get that, there's no turning back.
So I'm now going to pull you back to 2 points out of
Yes,
your four key ingredients.
my four key
We
ingredients.
we
Yeah,
digressed. It was a really good digression, but
it was a good
back to
rabbit
back
hole.
to your points.
Okay, cool. So the first two techniques that we think are important is mindset and is the technique of actually doing it. So those are the first two key ingredients. The second two, having the tools to be able to deliver it. And that's not just about being able to demonstrate it to the customer, it's about giving them something that they can use when you're not there. So the slider, if you like, is now shareable. You can send it to the customer. They can play with it in their own home. It tells you when they've clicked on it.
Yeah.
It tells you there's an instruct button, so they can pick their fees. And then it texts you as the valuer so you know that that instruction's there. And the final point is around community. So one of the things that we've created now is a community of agents non-compete. So, like the theories of RAN and Property Academy, Leaders Inc. Like the theories of those businesses where you can share your successes and your challenges. And you can say, guys, this is working really well for me. Try it. It really lands.
Yeah.
Or guys, I haven't taken an upfront fee in the last three instructions. Somebody just tell me about some good news so I can get myself out of this rut. Yeah. And we've got both business leaders in community groups supporting each other to help with the implementation. And then we have valuers in these community groups as well, supporting each other to be able to, 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 to share amongst themselves what does and doesn't work to help drive the implementation further forward.
I'm looking through my checklist because they give me a bit of a cheat sheet here. I don't just remember
Good.
all this stuff, you know that, right? But we've covered most of what we wanted to cover. But one of the things that I always like to ask about is this is something that you could use as as simple as a one-man band or one-woman band,
Yeah.
all the way up to multi-branches. So this is I want to say one size fits all, but it is suitable for businesses of scale and also for micro businesses as well.
Yeah, so it's universal. So we're working now with anything from self-employed operators through to single branch, multi-branch, and we now work with a national agent as well. So the largest agent in the country are now using flexible fees as part of their strategy in terms of their movement forward and the reimagination of that business.
Superb progress. So, if I'm an agent watching this and I want to know how I get in on this,
Yeah,
typically talk us through the process. What am I signing up for? How long does it take me to get trained, and how long does it take me to get out
sure.
there using it?
Yeah, cool. So the best way is to get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn. I will share my contact details, I'm sure, as part of this webinar. My mobile number is already all over the internet, so it's such fun answering the phone at times. But yeah, we'll share my contact details, my email, my mobile, etc., so that you can get in touch. And the first thing that we need to do is to be able to look at the business and start looking at the fees and working out the impact for you and your business. It's really important to me that the ROI is really clear right from the get-go. We run training courses quarterly. And the next one is on the 14th of April in London that Ian's running, where you can go and get specific training about implementing flexible fees, how the team can prepare, how you can help the team, how the team can help you, and then how you can go out and sell that in the client's home. Once an agent is ready to get set up and running, takes me no more than 7 days to get them up and running,
Yeah.
sort the fee scales out, get the branding off them. The slider is white label. So what's most important to me is that the customer doesn't give a damn who your supplier is. They don't care which business you're working with. They care that they're coming out to see Mints and Co. estate agents.
Yeah.
So it should be your brand that's front and center. So we get all of that set up for you. And then you're off and you're running.
And
Cost wise,
yeah.
probably fair to cover that. It's £69 plus VAT per person per month.
Okay. So
That's
so
it.
that's really simple. So when you
It's
say
dead
per
simple.
person per month, which person?
So per valuer. So
Okay, per value.
per person that's out delivering valuations in the property that will be discussing the fees with the customer.
And forgive my ignorance on this, but that white labeled slider that you're providing people, where does that sit? Does that go on my website? Is that on a standalone site? Does it just sit on the
Sure.
iPad?
Yeah,
What
sure.
is it?
So it's a standalone web page, but with unique URLs.
Okay.
So it would be mint.flexiblefee.com, for example.
Yeah.
So we have a hosting site in the background, and then we create unique URLs per business. That then works on mobile, tablets, laptop, desktop. It works across the whole suite, and that works for both you and the customer to be able to send it out. The only thing it needs is a bit of an internet connection. So I think most of us now have phones and internet at home, and they're very, very rare,
Even in Yorkshire, ladies and gents, they have.
even in rural Yorkshire.
Actually, you've got really good broadband up there. There's a Yorkshire provider. I think that they've done very well.
Yeah,
So There is an ROI calculator online as well, isn't there,
Yes.
where agents can sort of calculate the impact of the flexible fees on the business. If you wanted a
Yep.
sneak peek without talking to SJ, you could do
Yep.
that.
Yes.
However, talking to SJ will give her much more in-depth knowledge of what your business is up to and what you're likely to see. So you can then she we can then put that into real context and sort of as a headline stat, and this is based on all the people that are using it. Flexible fees can increase your overall revenue and forget about cash flow, which I think is always important, but overall
Mhm.
revenue by 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
impressive.
significant. Yeah, this is not
There are
just about
very
bringing.
few things that can add that to your bottom line. So,
And this is
seriously,
no more
without making
instructions.
without
No more
making
instructions.
cuts or or,
No.
or slashing things or cutting back on essentials, this is actually something that adds to it
Yep.
rather than detracts. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, and also removing that. I can't tell you how many times as an agent I heard a supplier say, "You just need to win one more instruction to pay for it." Nah, this is not about doing more. It's about getting more for what you do.
And if you are getting them invested up front, it will cut down silly fall throughs. And when I say silly fall throughs, those are the ones where on a whim, because it's so easy and because I've not paid anything, I can go,
Yeah,
actually, do you know what? I'm not moving now.
yeah,
Yeah. And so
yeah. Well,
it gets people committed, doesn't it? And
yeah,
focused.
and we only have to go back to this example, right? You know, when people are starting to pay money up front, we see these numbers of people that are going forward to complete increase, and the number of people that withdraw decreasing.
Yeah.
And not only that, the change in mentality as you go through the sales progression process is off the charts. So when that survey comes back and says, you know, the consumer unit needs replacing, and typically you'll have this back and forth of, well, I'm not paying for it. Well, neither am I because it's 400 quid I hadn't budgeted for, and it's up to you. No, it's up to you. Suddenly that it doesn't dissipate entirely, but the context around those conversations change because you've got to coin possibly an overused phrase, skin in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it matters to you that loss aversion that we talked about earlier kicks in. Am I going to walk away from this for the sake of a £400 consumer unit when I've already paid £1,000 of marketing up front? Am
And
I prepared to lose it?
and just in case you think that SJ's enthusiasm for this is because she's a really good salesperson, yes, she is. She is. But there is a clear moment where almost it's like the Emperor's New Clothes. Once you see it, you cannot go back to unseeing it again. And I think there is that, like we said, there's a switch, there's that light bulb moment where you realize there is a better way of doing what
Yeah,
we do every day. It's good
and
for your self-esteem. It's good for
yeah,
your team's cohesion and how they
hmm
feel about doing their job. It's better for your bottom line. It's better. Honestly, this could
and
cure anything. I'm
and
quite
and,
happy
I,
to
and I'll be
endorse it.
totally honest. I'm a reformed character because when Ian first introduced this concept to me,
Yeah,
I looked him square in the eyes across the table and said, "You are 50 shades of batshit crazy, mate. This will not work." Like I'm in a rural ex-mining market town in North
yeah,
Yorkshire.
yeah.
People are
Forget it.
not going to pay me money. Just it's not going to work. And he said to me, he said, "SJ, just try it, please.
Yeah,
Just go out there and get the next 10 listings you do, just ask the question and see what
yeah.
happens." And so I strapped my positivity pants on and I went out and I asked the question and people started saying yes. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is not as bad as I thought.
But it's what you said. We condition ourselves. You're 100% right with that. We are guilty of not having given the public choice on the matter.
Yeah,
And to to quote you again with the purple brick scenario, the one thing that they did was whether we liked it or not, and most of us didn't like it, but
yeah,
they did present a different choice, a different
yeah.
vision, where there was a sense of perhaps more autonomy, where people could say, right, well, this is, it's a definable amount that I'm paying, but I'm happy to make that investment and to do it.
And in its most basic form, they did provide the customer with choice because you could pay your whatever it was, thousand
Yeah,
pounds up front, or
yeah,
you could defer it
yeah,
and pay it at the end, but you ended up paying like 1,200 quid or 1,500
yeah.
quid by the time they'd like
Yeah.
bolted on the deferred payment fee. So
Yeah.
in its very like early stages, that was a form of flexible fees.
Yeah. But this is one that works. It comes with the tech,
100%.
it comes with the support, it comes with the backing, and actually going to those quarterly training meetings, you will meet other like-minded agents and you won't feel like you're in a room full of competition. You'll
Yep.
feel that you're in a room full of people that are sharing really good ideas and best
Mm.
practice, and people rave about it. So, SJ, thank you very much for opening our eyes. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
giving us a different path. And again, all of SJ's contact details are available. We'll tag it into this post as well. But thank you very much
Fantastic.
for your time.
No, it's been wonderful. Thank you.